Hi, everyone. Now, I don't think this gentleman probably needs any introduction, but Jeremy, welcome. You're back again in the studio. You are, and I believe I am reliably informed you have a lot of demos to show me.
I've got a few. I wanted to save the best for last and do a bunch of demos at the end.
That's awesome. Now, we are talking about Copilot. Well, everyone's been talking about Copilot for a long time, and you know, what would you say? I know there's lots of things that we can talk about, but if someone's not using Copilot, but they're using Office, what should they know?
So one of the greatest things that we announced actually in September was that basically anyone who's using Microsoft 365 or Office 365, they've got integrated Copilot experiences right inside of their Office apps, whether they're using it on the web or the local installs of the desktop clients. It's right there. And the cool thing is you can even use, say, files in SharePoint and call those up as part of the reference files that you're going to use as part of being able to do retrieval augmented generation or kind of augmenting your prompts with that. So you can have really intelligent responses. And this is just what's included before you have the license. So everyone can use this right now pretty much with very few exceptions if you've got Microsoft 365 or Office 365.
Yeah, I know. I've been using it. I have given it a bit of augmentation.
And in fact, I've got some demonstrations, as you mentioned.
Oh, do you? Well, we should probably go to them. Let's do the thing.
So, of course, I've got Zava, and we've got a meeting coming up, and that's.
Okay.
I've come back from a trip like Ignite, so it's always hard to catch up on these types of threads, and I've got a full inbox. A lot of things have been happening since I last checked in, and I see there's this massive thread with a lot of different responses, and you know, I just got back from my trip at a conference, so I say, please draft a recap of this email thread for me to share with my launch team. Now it kind of goes in and it reads everything for me. It looks at all the different responses, all the different components of the thread, and you can see that there's a smart fiber product that's going to include medical grade sensing. The timeline shift, things have been moved up, so now I've got less time, more urgency to get stuff done. The important part is I've got to prepare for a leadership presentation that's been moved up as opposed to being delayed, so now I've got to go ahead and do that. So now I'm in Outlook. That was the Copilot experience. It's just part of Outlook for basically anyone to use. Now let's move ahead then to Word. So now in Word, I've got to do some things here, which no executive wants to read the entire document. They don't have time. So one of the great uses for Copilot is summarization. It's a great model use in general.
I do it all the time.
Right. So we're going to go ahead and actually create an executive summary. I've got already the document started. I've already got the heading for the executive summary, place to put it basically. And if I open up Copilot, again, this is the Copilot that more or less anyone can use. And I go in and I just have to write a prompt for it, say, please remember that I prefer first content in Copilot to be concise. So I want it to be nice and concise for my executives. And it basically uses that as a note. It's part of what it's going to take into account as I write my prompt here to build the summary. So now I've built the summary, I've got everything here, and I can just copy that response or insert it directly in the document. So right under my executive summary heading, there it is, it's ready to go. Now I've got a nice, concise summary for my executives for that moved up launch date. So I'm kind of building up components. I'm going along a trail, a path, to make sure I've got all the stuff to present to them. So now I've got to go and do some data analysis. So the next thing I can use Copilot for and Copilot Chat for is in Excel. So here I've got some satisfaction sentiment score information, and I want to basically be able to have a nice visualization for what that means and how that's going to be integrated in my presentation. The good news is I can use Copilot Chat to really reason over all this information, all these numbers, and kind of build its own bar chart. So I'm going to say generate a bar chart showing overall satisfaction scores across the different regions, use different colors, so even color coding for each bar. So then that's going to go ahead and analyze all of that, and it's going to go ahead and create me a bar chart. There it is, in fact. So now I have a perfect kind of satisfaction scores visual across north, south, east, west, and central regions. And it's ready for me. I'm going to use this later as part of my PowerPoint. In fact, why don't we switch over to PowerPoint?
And here's one we made earlier.
So I've got PowerPoint, the tab open. This is PowerPoint on the web, but I can use PowerPoint, also the desktop client. So in PowerPoint, I've got a couple of different slides I've started here. You can see on the left 4 and 5 that need some content. So what I can do here with PowerPoint is I can actually pull up some of the information and some of the chat threads that I've already had with Copilot Chat and use those to augment these slides. So I can go into my chat history. So I go into my Copilot chats here. It's just right up on top. And when I do that, it's got all the different chats that I've been working on, the ones that we've just seen. And it knows that I need to have stuff concise. And so it tells me, yeah, I can do that. And it says, OK, pull up the executive summary. So I've got my block of text there. And I want to copy that response. And I want to add that into our new features overview. And now I've got my kind of TLDR executive summary done. So now I need some visuals. It's PowerPoint. It's got to be a visual presentation. It's got to be a good one.
No doubt, no doubt.
So we'll go ahead and add our bar chart from Excel that we just created. Again, history right there that we just created 30 seconds ago right into our PowerPoint. So now our PowerPoint's starting to look pretty good. But we need an image generated. And that's always something kind of tricky. You usually go to another website or some other experience.
Yeah.
I can do that right in context of PowerPoint. And then you can just say, create me a high-tech image of an ECG sensor. And it's going to go ahead and do image generation right in line in PowerPoint. Again, this is the included version of Copilot Chat in PowerPoint. And there's my nice ECG sensor isometric drawing that I can include as part of my presentation. So now I've got a full PowerPoint ready for my executives to be able to review. All of these things just in minutes built through Copilot Chat as the included experience.
It's clip art for the AI age.
It is.
It is.
It's infinitely variable.
So, Jeremy, so this is all, as you said, included in the Copilot experience, but some folks might be wondering, what's the difference then between Copilot that you get just in M365 if you're using that product and like the paid for version?
Right, and I've got two words for you, actually maybe one word. Work IQ is one of them. So
yes.
What's the difference then between the two different experiences? So the main thing is, like with Work IQ, you can say, when was the last time Sarah emailed me? What did we talk about? It will know which Sarah, because like at Microsoft, we've got a couple 100,000 people and multiple Sarahs.
Even two Sarah Youngs, actually.
Right. It'll look at the organization, who you've been working with, pull up recent emails, do all of that kind of stuff intelligently. Also, the Teams capabilities, like these are my favorite parts of using Copilot, to be honest. Like I have so many meetings. Going back and either facilitating or recapping meetings that I've been part of, that's been a lifesaver in a lot of cases where, like, if I go to Ignite for a week and I come back, what did we talk about 2 weeks ago? What did I sign up for? All of those things. Plus, you get the specialized agents that are either built by Microsoft or third party that you can get to and basically do retrieval augmented generation and all the different things over Microsoft 365 and SharePoint and OneDrive content that are all part of the kind of the paid Copilot license experience. So there's a lot of value there in terms of what you get beyond Copilot Chat, but everybody should be using Copilot Chat in the Office apps. If you've got Microsoft 365 or Office 365, it's all there.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So additional context and smarts, right?
Right.
Okay, moving on, because I know you've got so much to show me. We've heard a lot this week about Agent 365. Go. Tell me, what do we need to know?
I'm going to hold that thought for just a second. We're going to do one more thing.
Okay.
So another update that's been massive, and it's another agent thing, by the way. Agent mode in Excel. And we'll get to Agent 365.
I'm jumping ahead. I'm jumping ahead.
Right.
Too excited.
All right. So agent mode is awesome because if you think about it, one of the best use cases right now for using models for work is coding, right? Like using it, writing comments in GitHub, and then having it actually code your apps. Well, it turns out doing the querying inside of Excel or using it with databases is more or less coding that you're doing. So doing that reasoning, that agentic kind of workflow within Excel is actually a pretty native use case compared to using it in GitHub, for example.
Yeah.
And that's where agent mode is pretty cool and one of my favorite new capabilities. So here again, I've got Zava. This is Zava. In this case, they're not doing medical equipment. This is their branch that's doing bicycles.
Zava do everything.
Right. Okay. So, so we want to look at Zava sales and analyze this huge spreadsheet with hundreds of lines and rows of data. So let's go ahead and use agent mode for that. And this is part of what you can do with the Microsoft 365 Copilot license, like we mentioned before. So now I've got agent mode ready and open on the right pane. I've got all my data here, and all I have to do is prompt it with to basically ask it, run a full analysis on this data, find important insights for making business decisions, and create charts to make it visual, help visualize the insights. So when I do that, it gets to work. Now these run for a couple minutes. I'm going to speed this up. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to speed this up a little bit, but you can see all the activities. It's planning workflow steps. It's creating a workbook structure. It's creating pivot tables and charts. Who doesn't want that? It's setting up dashboard layout, so I've got a dashboard. And then it creates a dashboard sheet for me. And I'll just go ahead and look at the dashboard sheet really quickly. And you can see it's really visual. It's got all the stuff. It's done pivot tables and pivot charts for me, which is awesome. But even better than that, it's actually created the insights themselves on the right here, my KPIs, my sales numbers, my profit numbers, the units sold, the margin, segment profitability, discount on margin, and what was happening there. The different customer feedback from a feedback sheet, like all these things it's looked at and started to rationalize all of those things and really grab the insights from them. And then you can see maybe we're giving too many discounts here, it's telling me. And I've got seasonal spikes that I need to look at and make sure that we're ahead of those. And it tells me how it produced all the content. And these pivot tables, they're not just there kind of static, they're things that you can view how they were created and edit the pivot table fields if you want to as well, if you want to make some different changes or touch-ups to it. Same thing with the pivot chart. So everything is editable. And so you kind of learn also from Copilot while it creates all this content for you. So it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool, because that spreadsheet is terrifying just to look at it, all the rows.
Right, right. I know you wanted to get to agent mode, so.
I did.
Yes. So let's go ahead, not agent mode. You want to get to Microsoft?
Agent 365.
Agent
That's what we want to
365.
get to. So
Right.
show me the things.
So this is really cool because the agents basically are running the same infrastructure that you'd use to manage your people, which means that they can also have the productivity apps and experiences. They've got their own email account, they've got their own Teams account, the calendar, all of these types of things, their own identity, so they can work autonomously, independently. You can just guide it on what to do. But the question is like, where do I find an agent? So let's go ahead and show that process.
Let's do it.
There are a couple different agent stores. I'm going to show you Teams, but there's also an agent store through Copilot Chat. So here, for example, my IT team has reviewed and published my different agents. I can see everything that I've got available for me. Of course, I'm going to use the Zava procurement agent because I'm in procurement, it turns out. And I'll go ahead and look at this and create an instance of the agent. I'll give it a name. And there's my Zava procurement agent. Now, the cool thing with this is it will reach out to me and it will say, what can I do? How can I help you? And these are some of the things I can do for you to get started. So we say, use this policy guide for your actions at Zava procurement. And it basically ingests that procurement guide as part of its knowledge base. And then it starts getting to work. So then when content comes in, like this email, it can parse that email, look at the different things that it needs to do. In this case, it needs to create different purchase orders, extract that information, send it back to you and say, hey, I've found an email with a couple of different purchase orders. Would you like me to proceed? Once you confirm, it continues and goes into, for example, here, the Excel spreadsheet with your purchase orders in it and starts to add that information. Because it's kind of like working with other people, you can just @mention and say, you know, what's the status of this order number? And the agent will respond back to you. So very integrated in the different experiences.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it is. Now, I'm going to say, what else? I've got such a big list on the cards, Jeremy. I'm just going to say, what do you want to show us next? What do you want people to know about?
So there's always been, and I've been doing like task sequence automation, Windows deployment, Office deployment, packaging of apps. There are certain apps that don't have API configurability or APIs that you can actually interact with to get apps to work using automation. So for that, you typically use coordinate-based automation. We can do better, though, with computer using agents. So this is kind of a Copilot Studio thing plus Windows 365. So it's Windows 365 for agents. Now you have the ability to create, in those cases where you can't automate everything, a computer using agent with a secure Windows 365 backend so that you make sure that it's got the right connections to your information, the right least privilege controls. I know you're about security and
I am.
All those things connected to Entra. All I have to do is give it the instructions that I want. So it's just like describing it as I describe it to you. Open up the browser, add these different things. And then I can determine basically what the different parameters are for this computer using agent. Important part, though, here is the machine. So we're going to go from hosted browser and show an entire desktop environment. So now I've used Scott's pool here. It's all defined. It's ready to go. And just to test it out, you can always just hit the test button right from the Microsoft Copilot Studio. And this is really cool because it brokers the connection with the virtual machine, the cloud PC, and it starts to go to work. And you can see everything on the right-hand side that it needs to do. It needs to open up Edge, so it does that. It needs to go to the public website. We're doing contract processing for open contracts that are publicly available. We're using keywords like energy in this case, and then we're filtering it down by date. and it's grabbing that information and it can send it back to me. So now I know exactly what contracts are up. And when I publish the agent, I can add a trigger to have it run a couple times per day. So now I've built an agent that can use things that are not automatable with automation using Windows 365, using basically computer using agents in this case to do that work.
That is pretty cool. Now, Jeremy, it's probably more appropriate that we give you at least half a day in the studio so we can go through all the things. But if folks want to learn more, because I know that's only a fraction of the cool things we announced, where should they go?
So a couple things. I would say first, if you're not subscribed to Microsoft Mechanics, you should do that. And then we've got a lot of things that are part of Frontier. So Frontier is enabled by default. Go to Ignite, aka.ms/Ignite Frontier. Make sure that it's enabled in your tenant, and then you'll see all these new capabilities, things like we saw in agent mode and things that we saw in Agent 365. You'll be able to use all of those, and researcher, analyst, all those different agent experiences will light up.
Awesome. Thank you as ever, Jeremy. And again, loads of exciting things. Thanks for joining us. And go check out all the exciting things in M365.
Thank you.